Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing our reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. We're on text number 52. Evam Bhagavato Rupam Subhadram Jayato Manaha Nivritya Paraya Turnam Sampannam Na Nivartate. Narada Muni is instructing Dhruva Maharaj about how to attain perfection in life. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind on the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination, and he does not come down from meditation upon the Lord. Purport: this fixed meditation is called samadhi or trance. A person constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord cannot be deviated from meditating on the form of the Lord, as described herein. The Archana Marg, or the devotional path prescribed in the Pancharatra system of devotional service for worshipping the deity in the temple, makes the devotee think constantly of the Lord. This is samadhi or trance. One who practices in this way cannot deviate from the service of the Lord, and that makes him perfect in the mission of life. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So the Archana Vidhi requires vigilance throughout the day. One has to, when worshiping the deity, remain in a clean state inside and out. And the Archana Vidhi and the Bhagavat Marg processes go side by side. The Bhagavat Marg requires the hearing and chanting from the Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna. And this is considered ultimately the spontaneous path of devotional service and is achieved through this association with advanced devotees and hearing of the Bhagavatam. And then the Panchatrick Vidhi is the process of deity worship, which has been passed down through great souls like Narada Muni, who learned it directly from the Lord. And this process requires keeping one's mind, senses, and environment clean, free from clutter, and then attending to the form of the Lord. And in that, there's automatic regulation of the senses, because in order to take care of the Lord, there are certain conditions that are prerequisite. One has to be clean, and one has to gather certain kinds of items. What kinds of items do you have to gather in worshiping the Lord every morning? Flowers. You have to have flowers. So one thing is, you'll notice when you're worshiping the deity that you'll especially notice if you're in an area where there's no flowers. And I know pujaris or people who have their own deities and they travel with them are always looking for flowers. My friend Banabhata, for instance, whenever we're driving anywhere, he's looking out the window, he's got some flowers, and he pulls over and he'll take them, you know. And I was once up in the mountains, and then I realized I don't have any flowers, and I went and looked everywhere. There was no flowers because we were at a certain elevation. I had to use pine needles. I was apologizing to the Lord profusely, saying, "This, you know, that's all we have here. I couldn't get anything else." And what else do you have to collect every day? What are common items? Ghee lamps, yeah. And there's no earthly purpose for a ghee lamp. If you go through security at the airport and they look and they see a bag full of ghee wicks, they won't be able to figure it out unless you tell them. Nor will they be able to figure out the deity. Several times I've had this happen. Once in Tokyo airport many years ago, I was traveling with my Shalagram Shila, and they pulled me over. They were asking me all kinds of questions. They said, "Okay, what's that around your neck?" Because I carried this little bag with Shalagram around my neck. And I said, "That's my lucky stone." And they said, "Let me see." So I opened up, unraveled, took him out, And there he was smiling, a little stone, really blissful. And the officer there, he looked at the deed and he goes, "Lucky stone, lucky stone." And once in JFK airport, I was going through security and through the X-ray machines going up to catch my flight. And again, they wanted to know, what was in all the bags and stuff like that. And I said, these are sacred stones. And then a bunch of the regular passengers, they crowded around. They wanted to see what it was going to look like. And as they were opening them, they were all saying, "Oh, very interesting." And one of the guys that was kind of leaning over he was saying, "Well, what makes it sacred?" So I was saying, so Krishna, he lifts Govardhan Hill. And this is one of the stones from Govardhan Hill. It's the same as Krishna. And they were all kind of impressed, You don't see that every day. So there's really no earthly purpose or for ghee wicks. And it's very difficult to, unless one's trained in this science, to understand these things. What else do you have to collect every day? Incense, nice smelling things. What else? Fresh, clean water. This is very important. Water has to be clean, from a clean source. You can't touch it with your fingernails. It should be purified water. What else? You have to have bell. All the paraphernalia that you use to worship the Lord is also something that you can't get everywhere. If you go to Vrindavan, they'll understand what you're talking about. Say, "I need a little, sir, for your," But if you go anywhere else, you say, "I need a little shirt about this big," They'll look at you like, "You play with dolls? What's going on?" What else do you need? Conch shells, yeah. What else? Fruits, flowers, chandan, you need sandalwood paste, attention. Tulsi leaves. That means you have to grow your own flowers. When you're at home, if you're a grahastha or if you're whatever ashram you live in, you should arrange your ashram so there's flowers growing, so there's tulsi growing. Then you have all opulence. You'll feel completely opulent and you feel satisfied every day that you can go and collect these things in abundance and bring them into the Lord. And there's a process for waking up in the morning, the process for mantras you say as soon as you wake up, before you touch the floor. Then taking bath is prerequisite also, special way you should bathe. And then you have to put on clean cloth. You have to go greet the deity. You have to say some prayers to wake up the deity, wake up your spiritual master, wake up the Parampara. And then you lay out all the paraphernalia. You're going to worship the deity. Then you have to do the Bhuta Shuddhi, which means you have to purify all the elements in your body by saying some mantras. Then you can start the puja. And then the cleanup is there and the offerings are there. But there's a balancing effect. One who's engaged in this process and incrementally introduces this in one's life so that one is accustomed to these things. It's muscle memory to get up and worship the deity in a certain way. Then has a pure existence. The mind, the body, they become accustomed to these sattvic and Shuddha sattvic articles. And then the chanting Hare Krishna becomes accommodated in a way that isn't available if one's mind is disturbed. If you wake up and turn on CNN, if you wake up and stay in an impure state, these kinds of things, very difficult to remain regulated. So Panchachakya Vidhi and Bhagavat Marg should go on parallel tracks. And not that you have to have big elaborate worship in your home necessarily. Mostly the worship is meant for the temple. You should come to the temple if you're close and participate in the deity worship. That's the best thing. If you live far away, then you can have some simple process. But even in the simple process of worshiping the deity becomes the center of the home. And the offering, especially the offering of food every day, becomes the central point. And just organizing your life around making sure that you have some nice offerings every day will transform your home in a special way. Welcome. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you. Where are you coming from? Mountain View. You live in Sunnyvale?
Yes.
Wow. Nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Continuing in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 8th chapter, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. And this is big news. He's a 5-year-old child. He was offended by by everybody, really, especially his mother-in-law and his father, who didn't object when his mother-in-law said, you can't sit on your father's lap because you didn't come from my womb. And if you want to rectify the situation, you're going to have to pray to God that you can be born in my womb, and then you can come back, and then maybe you'll have a chance. He was furious, 5 years old. He had Kshatriya blood. He went to his mother, Suniti, crying, and all the attendants who saw what had happened came in and said, this is what happened. And she said, well, she's right. There's nothing we can do. You have to pray to God. She said, I'm going to pray. Where do I find him? In the forest. Off he went. And Narada Muni intercepted him and said, where are you going, little boy? And he said, I'm going to the forest to find God. I want what I want, and I'm going to get it. And Narada Muni tested him. He told him a few things, why he should go back, why he should be equipoised. He gave him some Brahminical instructions. Narada said, Dhruva said, these are nice Brahminical instructions, but they're not for me. I can't follow them. I'm too impure. And he said, I'm going anyway. Then Narada gave him instruction about how to perform Ashtanga Yoga. And he said, very quickly you'll be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a very instructive point that Dhruva was so determined to meet God, even though his motive was something material at first, that Krishna arranged for him to meet a spiritual master. So it's always our internal desire that drives our Krishna consciousness. Krishna ras bhavitomati, Krishna bhakti ras bhavitomati kriyato yadi kritopi labdyate, tatalolyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritirna labdyate. Rupa Goswami says that the Krishna consciousness can be purchased only with greed. It means an intense desire to have it. It depends on your necessity. So if you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst and someone offers you a glass of water, you'll give $1 million. You'll give your life for it, practically. But if you're surrounded by water and you think, oh, I'm good, and someone offers water, no thanks. Or maybe, but it's not that interesting to you. So in our practice of Krishna consciousness, we have to remain hungry and remember how helpless we are. Remember that at any moment we can leave this world, we can drop off like a little drop of water on a lotus leaf, and we must feel helpless, kinchana gochara, and pray to Krishna. That is what Krishna responds to, that intense desire to attain him. Yes?
Sometimes people say that when we say that, okay, you should be greedy for spirituals, and then it's like what you just mentioned, then they tell, no, it's all Krishna's desire. If Krishna will that it will happen, why I should think it's, and how we can count and how we can say them something that you should be greedy. No, it's not just Krishna desire. Like you just now mentioned that desire that drives our Krishna consciousness, our internal desire. But sometimes then they told, no, it's Krishna's wish, then I will go, Krishna's wish, then I will.
So it's like you're down in the bottom of a well, you fall in, and you need to be rescued, and somebody lowers the rope down, and then you say, well, you know, if you really want, you can make the rope go around my waist or something like that, and then pull me up. You know, why should I do anything? There has to be that desire to. Krishna undoubtedly is willing to help us, and he has his desire for us to come back, but he doesn't force us. And he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti napriya. He's equal to every living entity. But he says, if one approaches me, then he becomes one with me in desire. And Krishna says he reciprocates. Yayata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna says, as they desire, I reward accordingly. So it's not that we simply sit there and wait for Krishna to come and pull us back and we don't have to do anything. But because he's responding to our individual desire. We're individuals, we have that desire. Okay. O son of the king, now I shall speak unto you the mantra which is to be chanted with this process of meditation. One who carefully chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. Purport. Within this universe there is a planet called Siddhalok. The inhabitants of Siddhalok are by nature perfect in the yoga achievements, which are 8 varieties. One can become smaller than the smallest, lighter than the lightest, or bigger than the biggest. One can immediately get whatever he likes. One can even create a planet, etc. These are some of the yogic perfections. By virtue of the Lagima Siddhi, or purificatory process, to become lighter than the lightest, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka can fly in the sky without airplanes or airships. It is hinted herein by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj that by meditating upon the transcendental form of the Lord and at the same time chanting the mantra, one becomes so perfect within 7 days that he can see the human beings who fly in the sky. So there were 2 things mentioned in the last sentence that are required for perfection. Can you remember what they are? It is hinted herein by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj that by meditating on the transcendental form of the Lord and at the same time chanting the mantra, one becomes so perfect, within 7 days he can see the human beings who fly in the sky. So meditating on the form of the Lord and chanting the mantra, these 2 things. Narada uses the word japaha, which indicates that the mantra to be chanted is very confidential. It's very what? One may ask, if it is confidential, why is it mentioned in the writing of Srimad Bhagavatam? It is confidential in this sense. One may receive a published mantra anywhere, but unless it is accepted through the chain of disciplic succession, the mantra does not act. It is said by authoritative sources that any mantra chanted without having been received from the disciplic succession has no efficacy. Verse? Here's the meaning and you tell me the verse. Important verse. It is said by authoritative sources that any mantra chanted without having been received through the disciplic succession has no efficacy. Shloka book, look it up. Find that verse. You can use the index or whatever means you want. But it's a very important verse to understand, and we'll also just take a moment to discuss why this is. What is the possible reason behind this? That although the mantra, we say, has potency, if you don't receive it through the disciplic succession, why doesn't it have potency? Hare Krishna, Hare. Page 873. 373. Huh? 373. Let's give Mayapur a hand. This is very important. Education doesn't mean you have to know everything. It means you know how to find everything. 373. Okay. Mayapur, introduce us to this verse.
Sampradaya.
Where is it from?
It is from Padma Purana.
Okay.
And it is as follows. Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishvala mataha.
Give us the word for word.
Yeah. Sampradaya vihina, without being connected with a bona fide sampradaya or disciplic succession, ye, which, mantras, te, those, nishvala, fruitless, mataha, are considered. Translation: if one is not actually connected with a bona fide disciplic succession, whatever mantras he chants will not bring the desired results.
Why? Vinadato? Shri Govindo. Why is it?
So one should have proper consciousness while chanting mantra. And when we receive in submission with the spiritual master, we develop service attitude and we can approach the mantras in proper consciousness.
Can you give Shastra for that?
Tadvadipani patena pariparshanena sevya updakshanti te jnanam jnanina tat darshana. So the recommended process of gaining true transcendental knowledge recommended by Krishna is to approach the spiritual master with submission and service attitude and inquire submissively. And when in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that this is the key of his spiritual advancement, that to satisfy the spiritual master. And when we please the spiritual master, then we get the mercy of the whole disciple succession and ultimately Krishna, and one can advance.
Nice. Who wants to say more about this point? That a mantra received from disciplic succession means you get it from a person who got it from a person, really. It's a personal thing. It's being passed down as a gift. Has the effect. Whereas if you just take it from a book independently, it won't have the desired result. Anybody want to comment on that?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaji.
Yes? Varsha?
Maharaji, I'm Varsha. Now, Maharaji, if it is taken from the Guru Maharaj, from the disciplic succession, because he himself has taken from his Guru, and he is he's an authorized person to give it, and it becomes transcendental, and it has its potency. So I feel it is very important to have it from the Guru, who is coming from the disciplic succession. Am I right?
Yes, very good. Thank you very much, Varsha. Nice to hear your voice. Mukaravind.
One of the book I was reading in, I think it's Sachinandan Swami Maharaj, then he writes, or Mahanidhi Swami, about the Gayatri, that whenever the Guru gives the mantra, it's not just simply mantra, he gives his all realizations with the mantra, what he has his. So it is not just textual transformation or it is just text, but he empowered whatever the lifetime of realizations that he has got through chanting this mantra. So that's why it is important. And another thing, when Sardha Mataji was telling me this, like the bird, there is suppose there's one seed is there. That seed, if it goes into the land, it doesn't fructify. But if bird take it, there is a particular kind of seed. Then if after passing through the bird's digestion system, then if it is sown, then it gets fructification. Similarly, the mantra is
okay, it's an analogy. And so far we've heard that Krishna recommends a system through which we approach somebody who's in knowledge, and through submission we receive the instructions. That's the verse that Sri Govinda Dato had suggested, Tadviti Pranipatena. And then your point is that there's something, and then Varsha was saying that there's something authorized. Of course, look up the word authorized. And dictionary should always be available. So go get the dictionary. But we should always have it part of the layout. And then you were also saying, Mukaravind, that there's something more you get when you come to a person. You get the conception that's behind the mantra and not just the mantra. In the Harinam Chintamani, there's Haridas Thakur says that along with receiving the mantra, one must also receive sambandha gyan, that you get instruction along with the mantra, so that you can properly chant the mantra, means chant it in the proper consciousness, understanding I'm a servant of Krishna. How quickly can one forget that one's a servant of Krishna? Someone was saying, within a moment, something comes along and grabs your attention. Next thing you know, it's 10,000 years later, 10,000 births later, and then you resurface and remember. So to be connected to the mantra means to be connected also to the instructions, how to chant the mantra, remembering one's position. There's something that is a couple of years, 2 years ago when I was in Govardhan, there's one devotee there who teaches Madanga. So every day I sit down with him for a while, just face to face, and he would teach me what he knew. And I had this experience that all of the things that he had learned and practiced and assimilated himself were there complete within him. And when he spoke about it, there was something powerful about his words, that wouldn't have been there if I just got it from a book. There was a completeness because he had realized what he was teaching, and he had actually practiced it himself and gone through the exercises and everything. And he also heard from his own teachers, and he had assimilated all of that, and it came out as a kind of a fully cooked preparation. So there's a way in which when we approach somebody who has realization of the mantra, who's learned from his or her gurus and has realization, that person can pass it on. Authorization. Mukarvin?
Authorization.
Okay.
The act of authorizing or something that authorizes or sanctions.
Just look up authorize. I want to see the root of the word.
Authorize. Authorize is from the Latin auctorizere, or like oxen, Latin oxen, or author.
Like an oxen? O-X-E-N?
A-U-C-T-O-R, octor, sorry.
Huh?
A-U-C-T-O-R, octor.
Octor.
Or author.
Okay. Look up author. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari Ram, Hari Ram, 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 Hari, Hari.
Authorized is duly sanctioned, given or endowed authority, or to give authority or official power, to empower.
Where does the word author come from?
It said Middle English auctor, from Old French auteur, from Latin auctor, means creator.
Creator. Okay. Creator is a person. There's a creative energy and force. It leads back to some personal connection. Authorization. You think of an author who authored the book and who authorized you. There's a way that it comes back to the Creator, and that's our disciplic succession. It comes from Krishna and it's passed down. He passes his authorization down through those who follow him and become empowered. Yes?
There's one more verse Prabhupada used to quote many times in the lectures from Mukunda Upanishad.
Page?
This is page number 360 in Shloka book.
Okay.
Mukunda Upanishad 1.2.12. Tad Vijnanartham sa gurum eva bigachet. I think the first line was mentioned quite often. And then Samit Pani Srotriyam Brahmanishtam. To learn the transcendental subject matter, one must approach a spiritual master. In doing so, he should carry fuel to burn in sacrifice. The symptom of such a spiritual master is that he is expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion, and therefore he constantly engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Elaborate.
So here the process of getting transcendental knowledge is to approach a spiritual master and render submissive service. And the qualification of such a spiritual master mentioned here is that he is 100% engaged into service of Krishna.
Why does it make a difference? That obviously this example has been given about carrying wood. Now this is because a brahmachari or a student of a spiritual master would assist in the yajna. And every day the guru needs wood to perform the fire yajna. So the student would go out and collect wood. Is that an exalted task or a menial task?
It's menial task.
It's menial to go out and collect wood. But no matter what kind of family you're from, you might be from a very high caste Brahmin family, but when you're with the guru, you go out and collect wood and you bring it to the guru. So that indicates a category of service or mentality that one should be in order to receive the instruction of the spiritual master. Why? Why does that make a difference? Talk in practical realizations.
like from Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, Krishna mentions the object of knowledge. And it starts with amanitvam adambhitvam. It's like humility and pridelessness. So to gain the knowledge, first we need to be humble. And we need to be submissive. Basically, we should not be proud. Proud is like, it blocks the knowledge, flow of the knowledge. So when we are humble, then we can receive. And
I want to hear practical realization, how it's affected you. Somehow, how you've approached someone or you've gained knowledge because you've become humble, or some kind of transmission that's come about or not come about because you weren't humble. Do you have any practical realization of this, of how you rendered menial service to a teacher at one time in your life that allowed you the proper mentality so you could actually imbibe what he or she was saying? This is what the verse is saying, yes.
I don't know about, like, maybe not before Krishna consciousness so much, but when I first came into devotee association, then there was one couple that was conducting programs and, you know, kind of running the programs in Minneapolis. And so I found that just by sticking around and helping out, whether it was washing dishes, and then as I got more involved, just setting up things, whatever needed to be set up for the program, what can I set up, and just learning that, then it allowed a lot of realizations in terms of understanding what that word service itself meant, because otherwise I tend to have more of an egotistical mindset, so I don't, that actual what is service means letting go of what I want to do, and what needs to be done comes into the forefront. So that allowed me to kind of understand even just like what that word service means. And then also by continuing to render that service, through that association I actually did meet my Guru Maharaj and so forth, but just the growth in being able to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Like when I tried to read it on my own, like when I first got a Gita, I'd read like a word or a sentence and I was like, this is too intense, you know, like I couldn't understand it in the space that I was in. But after some time, then the understanding would slowly come about that way. So so I probably everything.
Nice points, really practical. I'm thinking also, what is it's a two-way process. And we're talking about receiving knowledge, we're getting it from someone. So not only are we preparing ourselves, but what is the mindset, or let me put it to you, what is your mindset when someone renders menial service to you? How do you feel about a person who comes to you and does anything you ask, and is willing to do it in an unmotivated state of consciousness, or is in an unmotivated mood that just wants to do something for you? How do you feel? Tell us, unpack it.
We feel a lot of gratitude and pleased and even compassionate, like all these kind of feelings, because, you know, there's no motivation behind that service which they are performing.
Okay. Dimitri?
So if basically you kind of recognize these qualities in person who does it for you, you immediately get affected by this and you want to do the same to others.
And what about to the person?
Is the first thing.
So
you basically, there are some kind of connections established between you and this person on a different level. So it's become like a very personal connection, very intimate connection.
Intimate connection.
Yeah.
So how do you get intimate knowledge? You have to have an intimate connection. How do you get an intimate connection? You perform this tadvidi pranipatena priprashnena sevaya. In the relationship between the student and the master, there has to be submission. Amanitvam adambhitvam. And it has to be done in vishramba, in a friendly way. There's awe and reverence, but there's always, it's as a friend to a friend. But it's intimate. And in that, there's a transmission that comes from your heart. When somebody comes and renders you this kind of service without any motivation, you feel gratitude. And when there's gratitude, it overflows. And you feel that you want to give. And you give more than they even ask for. And they mean even ask, but you feel inclined to give. Whereas if someone comes to you with a profit motive, and you know they're just trying to take from you for their own good somehow, and they don't care about you really, how do you feel? Like giving or withholding? Or maybe you'll give just the superficial part, but it won't be confidential. You won't get to what's really deeply within the heart. So in the end, it's a personal process. And there's a way in which the mantra itself is Krishna. And Krishna reveals himself to those who approach him in a humble mood, in a mood of service, in a mood of gratitude. And he does it through his agents. Krishna is there within the heart. Authorization. Somebody's checking in online. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance.
Malini, Haribol, go ahead.
Prabhuji, I wanted to share one thing about you were saying that how when somebody approaches in a humble mood, and especially your spiritual master teachers, then if you render some service to them, I remember you said that then it melts the heart of that person, and when the heart melts, you wanted to give whatever you would like. So yesterday, I was thinking about this because yesterday in the Rath Yatra, we were all distributing books, and yesterday I watched Geeta Priya distributing books also. So she went and she talked to some people, like there were 4 or 5 people standing, and then she gave 2 Bhagavad Gitas, one in each hand, and she made a presentation. She told them that Krishna is everywhere, he's there in your heart also, and everything. And then in the end, she said, you can take this and you can give any donation. So the person who actually got the book, he was very pleased, and I don't know if he wanted the book or not, but I see that he was pleased by her simple presentation. And then he said, I really liked the way you said you did a very good job, and I want to give you something, and he gave some donation. And on top of everything, in the end, he said, may God bless you, he said, Prabhuji. So that actually stuck, because when you try to be humble and please somebody, then they try to give out all their blessings in their heart. So if we try to please our spiritual master in that mood, then we hope that we get those blessings truly.
Wow. Practical, powerful. Very good. Thank you, Malini.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaji. I always feel very confident when it comes from you. When you tell something, your message, your mails, your lectures, I feel that I am getting it, and I get a lot of confidence that what I am learning is the top post.
That's
and
important.
I read in Krishna book, O all merciful spiritual master, representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when will my mind be completely surrendered unto your lotus feet? At that time only, by your mercy, I shall be able to get relief from all obstacles to the spiritual life, and I shall be situated in the blissful life. Guru Maharaji, after reading this, I felt that I can only surrender is the main thing. First thing, I must surrender myself from the core of my heart. Then what I get from my Guru Maharaji is the most important, most confidential thing, and that gives me the most satisfaction.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna is the Adi Guru. Krishna is the Guru. But those who represent Krishna in various ways, they're called Guru because they're representatives of Krishna. And I had this realization when I saw the postman come one day to my house. And I was just observing him because he was taking a long time to give me some packages that came from India, that he was just an ordinary guy from my neighborhood. But he wasn't at the same time because he had the uniform on. And it had the United States Postal Service patch on it. I thought, just simple shirt, it's a regular cotton shirt, but because it's an authorized cotton shirt with the authorized badge on it, and he's actually gone through the process, that there's a way in which he has this potency, and that he's an agent of the federal government. So there's a way in which as one is a follower of the Supreme Personality of God through his authorized process, we call Parampara, disciplic succession, one becomes empowered in a similar way to pass on the message of the Supreme Personality of God, just as a postal carrier who may be an ordinary person has some position or authorization. Who else had a point? You were just ready to go, Mukaravan, and then we'll go to Sri Govinda Dato. Okay.
There is some question, and I have
There's a question coming in from texting. Okay, so for those who've texted in, we thank you very much.
Is from our own dear Bhaktin Pratibha, and Pratibha Mataji, and she is writing that we were starving for your association. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Question: we have to make many decisions in life, big and small, some impactful to many. Accept what is favorable to Krishna consciousness and reject which is not. Is this applicable in all instances, and is this a good barometer all the time?
Yes, decisions are very important, and we only get a certain number of them because we have a certain amount of time before we have to leave this body. So decisions are important, but some are more important than others. Some decisions can be easily reversed and they won't make that much of a difference. Main thing is that we should base our decisions on what's most favorable for our devotional service, and we should make decisions on how to winnow out those things in our life that are unfavorable. And if we make our so-called external decisions, that is how we make our livelihood, where we live, and so forth, based on those ideals, those principles, that, what's favorable we should accept, what's unfavorable we should reject, then we'll be well served throughout life. Ultimately, if our motive is pure in making the decision, sincere, then Krishna will carry what we lack and preserve what we have. And even if we make a misstep, it'll come out okay. One thing is, Nirkula and I were talking about the other day that decisions can have long reacting, they can have repercussions over a long period of time. And you might notice that decisions, bad decisions that you've made by misusing independence can affect you for a long, long time and make you wish you hadn't done that, because you would have been freer to advance your devotional service. It's good to keep that in mind. Study what the effects of good decisions are and what the effects of bad decisions are, and how far-reaching they can be and long-lasting they can be. And on that basis, we should refine our decision-making process, remembering these things, that if I make a whimsical decision, for instance, it can lead me into more than I thought. There can be unintended consequences that can last for a long time, and my progress in Krishna consciousness can be waylaid. I won't have the freedom that I wanted to have later in life even.
And Maharaj,
who is that?
Krishnas Das here.
Krishnas Prabhu, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful class. Going back a little ways, when Malini was talking about Gita Priya distributing books, and you were talking about the feelings of reciprocation and gratitude the spiritual master has for a disciple, it made me think about how, it's very natural in nature's arrangement that, children are cute and, they attract people to want to care for them and things. I mean, of all species. Or even like Vamana Dev cheated Bali Maharaj by being so beautiful and small, and therefore attracting those feelings of wanting to give something. And similarly, when a disciple is submissive and diligent and doing good service and being properly attentive and clean and having all the good qualities of a good disciple, it just naturally attracts the spiritual master to want to give him all the confidential knowledge and all his blessings.
Nice point. Can you back that up with a verse from the first canto, first chapter?
I'm thinking of Snigdhasya. I don't know the verse, but
Veta tvam saumya tat sarvam. You know that verse? Veta tvam saumya tat sarvam.
I think I know the verse that they're talking about how Sutta Goswami pleased his spiritual masters by his...
Yes, it's in the first canto, first chapter. It's a very important and nice verse, which is 118. Veta tvam saumya tat sarvam tat fatas tad anugrahat. Bruyu snigdhasya shishyasya guravo guyamapyata. And the word for words are Veta, you are well conversant. Twang, your honor. Now, who's speaking? These are the sages at Naimasaranya speaking to Sutta Goswami, who has now been placed on the seat of esteem to speak to these sages as an authorized representative. Why is he authorized? Now they're telling why. He's authorized to speak about Krishna, the science of Krishna consciousness, which he will soon do. They say, Veta, you are well conversant. Twang, your honor. Saumya, one who is pure and simple. Tat, those. Sarvam, all. Tatfata, in fact. Tat, there. Anugrahat, by the favor of all. Anugraha. Anugraha. That means one who pulls you along. You know what a graha means, right? They make you come along. Graha means a grabber. Like in astrology, there's grabbers. So anugraha has this sense that it means mercy. But it means somebody who makes you go in the right direction. They grab you and they make you follow. Anu means to follow. So anugraha means, come on, let's go. Anugraha. By the favor of. Bruyu will tell snigdasya of the one who is submissive. Shishyasya of the disciple. Guravaha, the spiritual masters. Guyam, secret. Apiyuta, endowed with. Translation, and because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. What's the word for gentle? Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. Purport. The secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting his sincere blessings. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has sung in his famous 8 stanzas on the spiritual master as follows. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Only by his satisfaction can one please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he is dissatisfied, there is only havoc on the path of spiritual realization. It is essential, therefore, that a disciple be very much obedient and submissive to the bona fide spiritual master. Srila Sutta Goswami fulfilled all these qualifications as a disciple, and therefore he was endowed with all favors by his learned and self-realized spiritual masters, such as Srila Vyasadeva and others. The sages of Naimasaranya were confident that Srila Sutta Goswami was bona fide, therefore they were anxious to hear from him. Why was he bona fide? Because he had received the blessings of his spiritual masters. When Prabhupada was asked by his GBC representatives, who will continue to give initiations after you leave? One thing Prabhupada said was, one who understands the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can become spiritual master. Then he said, one who understands the mission of his spiritual master, he becomes a spiritual master. So there's something about this actual organic connection to the desire of the spiritual master. We see here in Sutta Goswami that he served his spiritual masters. Why? He understood their desire because he was submissive. If you're submissive, you can appreciate the desire of another. If you're not submissive, if you're not humble, then you think it's all about me. Either you're a victim or your desires come foremost before anyone else's. A disciple means you put your desires aside And then you find out what is the representative, my representative coming down from Krishna is giving me a certain, has a certain desire. And what is that desire? It's connected to the desire of his spiritual master. He understands the desire of his spiritual master. That's what Prabhupada was saying. That means to understand the mission. What are you about? If you want to please Sri Govinda Datta, you would find out all about him and find out what makes him tick. I know a little bit, but if I wanted to know more and more, I would actually come submissively serve him, which is a good idea, and really try to find out what's in his, the core of his heart. What is his innermost desire? And then I would try to fulfill that. And what would he do? Yeah, he would give blessings. And this is what they're saying. Veta tvam saumya tat sarvam, because you are gentle. Gentle means you came in this mood of like complete service and you pleased all your spiritual masters. Therefore, you've become authorized. They blessed you in this way. And it's he's self-effulgent. That obviously you've been blessed by this because you have all the knowledge. It shows up. It's not a rubber stamp. It's not that, A connects to B because it's there on paper. But it's actually a real connection. It's a real connection which is obvious because the person actually understood the mission of the spiritual master and is now fulfilling it. And one has to see that. That's what the sages are seeing in him. Yes, you've been waiting for a while.
So Guru Maharaj, you are asking about the personalization, about like how submissive and humility and menial services help. So I remember like myself and even many devotees, those who are like now Halda Rupa Prabhu, Kumari Lila Mataji, all we just came recently in ISV. But we saw like we all serve like you, Malini Mataji or Krishna Presence Prabhu, submissive. We carried just bag or just watching submissive. We never thought, okay, we'll just go ahead present without knowing. So that empowers every one of us to present now in a way that pleases Parampara and like in a perfect way presentation. So I was correlating that thing like how if you would have just thought, no, I know that, okay, I don't need to follow them. I don't need to just hold a bag or just pull a trolley for them and they will present and I will just see and watch. So it required some humility on your side to be present and just take bags around all the things. So that was I was thinking. And similarly, second thing, I was thinking regarding, I never learned words in my 4 year of Krishna consciousness before. Like I was always fearful of something, but I don't know what happened last 1 year. I remembered many verses that I could never thought that I could remember. So it definitely that menial services brings the like from the heart of your spiritual master, whom you serve without motive, and you get all the qualities.
Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tatagaro Tasyaite Katita Hyarta Prakashanti Mahatmanaha. To one who has implicit faith in both Krishna and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically, simultaneously revealed. Otherwise, you can be a scholar in Sanskrit and Vedic philosophy, even Bhagavad Gita, and get it completely wrong. Offensively wrong, because you don't have this saumya quality. You're trying to barge in and your ego bounces all the knowledge out of the way, and all you get is the empty husk, which is completely wrong. You were going to make a point.
Actually, I had a question, Maharaj.
Oh, right.
So like we see examples where we have a good fortune of being very intimate, very close to the spiritual master, and we have an opportunity to serve them. But there are cases where we don't have that opportunity. Like there are disciples of Srila Prabhupada who we see their qualities, like for example Niranjan Maharaj. He didn't get
Adi Leela, Volume 1.
He didn't get a personal chance to serve Srila Prabhupada, and we see like the connection with Srila Prabhupada is very strong. But how does this work? Like there is not much like closeness physically, but still there is a lot
Well, even if you have physical closeness, doesn't mean you're going to get it. Because it's a matter of really, as we're saying, submissiveness, gentleness, and understanding the desire of a person. And you can actually find that out through the person's writings, through the person's associates, through, carefully listening to their instructions. And also, ultimately, it's a non-material connection. as well. Because Krishna is the guru, but he manifests himself externally as the spiritual master, spiritual masters. That's why this chapter begins Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan Ishan Ishavatarakam Tapkasham Tashakji Krishna Chaitanya Samjakam. He begins by worshipping the gurus, and he says Gurun. The gurus plural. And in this section he says that the Prabodhananda Bilvamangal Thakur has adored his Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru equally. That's what he says. He's adored his Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru equally. And here Prabhupada makes a comment about how the first canto, first chapter. We'd like to thank all the devotees who have joined us online this morning. All glories to you. Everyone say Haribol. Happy to be in your association here through cyberspace. Here we have Prabhupada 35. Is this it? Yeah. Prabhupada says, the service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There's no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of disciple. So, you see that with Prabhupada, he took the instruction of his spiritual master so seriously. And remain connected to that. And and he said, I'm never separated from my spiritual master. If you can take that up and make your desire one with the desire of your spiritual master, then you're never separated. The physicality is not that important. Shureshwar Prabhu was telling how on a morning walk in Hawaii, as with many morning walks, he was jockeying for position, trying to get closer to Prabhupada, and there were elbows swinging. It's like in a water polo match. There's blood in the water afterwards because there's so much going on under the water. Anyway, Prabhupada used to stop when he was walking suddenly to make a point, and he wasn't paying attention. Just like if you're texting in traffic, you'll smash into the back of a car. He didn't smash into Prabhupada, but he came this close, and he pulled up short by that much, and he said his nose was that far away from the back of Prabhupada's head when he stopped. And in that second, he realized that although I'm close physically, I'm universes away in another sense. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand this process. How does it work? Because when we are very close in the personal intimate association, it's very palpable, like we can understand how it's working. And it is somehow working when we are not physically close also. But, so, like as Mataji mentioned about, like there is gratitude in the spiritual master feels gratitude when the submissive disciple is there and he bestows mercy. But the spiritual master is not omniscient. So when the spiritual master is not there...
Yeah, and Prabhupada makes this point, sorry to interrupt, but it's important to insert here that in the story we're reading with Dhruva Maharaj, he went to the forest and Narada Muni intercepted him on the way. Now Prabhupada says first, he says Narada Muni was able to do that because he was Trikalagya. He knew what was going on. But then he qualifies that by saying, what does that mean? He said, because Krishna is in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridisani vishto mataksmitir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is omniscient. Spiritual master is not omniscient, but is connected to Krishna and his desire to save the conditioned souls. And Krishna makes this arrangement so that he informs a certain person this one's going this way, that one's going that way, he makes the arrangement so they can meet. Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. He makes that arrangement. So,
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Understood the point of super soul. Like super soul is basically understanding the desire of the jiva and then inspiring the spiritual master.
Yeah.
But when we say that, like I felt the presence of the spiritual master with me always, how can we feel the presence of the spiritual master always? Like, how does it work? Again, we know the soul is near to the super soul in the heart. Both are living together. But spiritual master is also not living in the heart, right?
well, the Chaitya Guru is the heart guru. That's how Uddhava, Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayasta Brahma Yushapi Kridim Ridha Muda Svaranta Yontar Bahish Tanubritam Ashubhan Vadimban Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Vyanakti. He says that I cannot offer enough gratitude to you, Lord Krishna, that you appear both as the Chaitya Guru, the Guru in the heart, and externally as the instructing spiritual master to guide me on your own path back home, back to Godhead. So the connection is that anything that's dear to Krishna, anyone or anything that's dear to Krishna is also considered to be one. It's achintya bheda bhed, simultaneously one and different. Therefore we say sakshad hari tvayamasta masta shastir, that the spiritual master is directly Krishna, sakshad hari. He's directly Hari. How? Because kintu prabhurya priya eva tasya, that he's very dear. Not that he is Krishna, but he becomes very dear because he's one with his desire. And he's, as these devotees are praying to Sudha Goswami, said, you've become dear because of that. So there, when we see the connection that the person has, then we feel that presence. And we remember that this person is dear to Krishna and dear to his spiritual master and so forth.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Oh, the time runs out so quickly, doesn't it? And I just feel so like bereft too, because I'm missing being here. We used to be here all the time, and now there's long gaps. I noticed the other day, I was looking at my garden, I'm thinking, I missed all the flowers. I was away so much, and I didn't realize it till I saw the sequence of my garden, and I'm thinking, I missed the lamb's ears have already bloomed and gone, and I didn't even see them because I was so busy running in and out of the house, catching a plane going somewhere. Time just goes by so quickly. It's time, it's so relishable to be back here. And I realize also that this, personal attention and connection is the basis of our whole community and organization. It's individual, and it's personal, and it's the hundreds of connections that we all have together, and the kind of personal attention we put into making improvements for the sake of moving the mission forward. It keeps us engaged, and that keeps the mission vibrant. Everything comes from consciousness. End with a very obvious statement. Okay, well, we run out of time. I'm stalling.
I'll just share the last point.
Yes.
I was just reading Narottam Das Thakur, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before Narottam Das Thakur has even appeared, he was calling Narottam, Narottam. And devotees understood, like, some very dear associates, Narottam is going to come. And when he appeared, he was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he thought, like, I want you to, like, see this darshan of the Lord and pastimes, but I came late, so I cannot. But in one section, like like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed to him to go to Vrindavan, and then he studied under Jiva Goswami, and then he was instructed to go to Navdeep and basically carry forward the mission. So in one of the purport, Prabhupada mentions that although he was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and feeling separation, he was continuing to push forward the movement. So that is applicable for us also.
Feeling separation, he was what?
He was continuing to push forward the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So
because he was feeling separation, he continued to push forward the movement?
While feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is still very actively pushing forward the movement. Mm-hmm. So that is the highest, that is the kind of the state that we should be in. Although we don't have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in front, or Srila Prabhupada in fact in front, but we feel separation from Srila Prabhupada is not here. Although he's in the books, like through the books we take association, but we should continue to push forward the movement and always desiring that association.
Yeah.
So there's a connection between.
And because that was his desire, if we do our best to discern what his desire is and then match up with that, that's a way that we remain connected. And it requires being. It's people have different ideas maybe about what Prabhupada. Obviously, people have different ideas about what Prabhupada intended for this, that, or the other thing. Some people say, "Yeah, this is what he meant." That's it. So every person has to become a pure recipient. In other words, we have to purify ourselves and actually research that. What is it? And find ourselves and attune ourselves to, what is the desire. So there are different ways of doing that, and that's sort of in line with what we're talking about. But once we have that as our motivation, then we are connected. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Dhruva Maharaj ki jai, Narada Muni ki jai, Suniti ki, Suruchi, Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.